My mom refused to pick up my daughter from school after she threw up. "I'm not a chauffeur," she said. My daughter waited 3 hours outside in the rain with a body temperature of 104 degrees. I didn't fight. I did this. After 3 days they were screaming and panicking. I felt rage. The kind that starts cold in your chest and spreads until your hands shake. I was still on the phone with the school nurse when she said the words. "Scarlett's been vomiting, her fever's at 104, we can't reach anyone else. She's sitting out front. It's raining." I couldn't leave work right away. I was leading a meeting that had taken weeks to prepare for, but the second I hung up, I called my mother. 10 minutes from the school. Retired. Nothing else to do. She picked up like it was any normal Tuesday, and when I asked her to get Scarlett, she laughed. Then she said it. "I'm not a chauffeur." That exact sentence. I was silent. She went on. Said she wasn't going to drop everything just because my daughter got a little sick. That I had Scarlett, not her. That she already did her time. Then she hung up. I stared at my phone and I felt something twist in me. I wasn't sad. I wasn't disappointed. I was furious. Because this wasn't the first time she had let me down, but it was the first time her selfishness had real consequences. Scarlett had nobody else nearby. I had no other backup. I ran to my car and drove like a maniac, switching lanes, shouting at red lights. It took me an hour and 12 minutes to get to the school. By then the rain was heavier. My daughter was still sitting there. On a stone bench, soaked, shivering, her cheeks red from the fever. Her backpack was open beside her. She was trying to keep it dry with her body. I grabbed her and drove straight to the ER. She didn't talk. She could barely move. She was limp against me. They took her in immediately. The fever had climbed. 104.6. Her breathing was shallow. They said she was close to collapsing from dehydration. They hooked her up to fluids, oxygen, everything. A nurse asked me when she last kept fluids down. I didn't even know. I just stared at the monitor. That night, I sat in the hospital room with her while she slept under wires and tubes. And the whole time I kept hearing my mom's voice. "I'm not a chauffeur." I kept thinking about all the ways I'd supported them. The money I sent every month. The groceries. The bills I paid without being asked. The way they always told people I was the responsible one, because I never said no. I opened my laptop at 6 a.m. the next morning. Logged into every account they depended on. Rent assistance? Gone. Grocery delivery? Cancelled. Insurance premiums I'd been covering for 2 years? I didn't even text them. I wanted them to feel what Scarlett felt. Alone. Forgotten. For now I stayed silent. But I knew the moment they realized what I'd done, the begging would start. The excuses. The guilt trips. And I was going to sit back and watch it all burn. The silence was satisfying. For 3 full days, not a single call, not a single text. I didn't hear a word from my parents. Scarlett was still in the hospital, recovering. Her fever had dropped, but her lungs were still crackling. She needed oxygen and monitoring. I stayed with her the entire time. Slept on the fold-out chair. Ate crackers from the vending machine. I only left once to go home, grab some clothes, and check on the cats. That's when I noticed the first voicemail. It was from my dad. Casual. Asking if I could send the usual gas money. He was planning to drive out to the lake that weekend. I didn't reply. That night, I got another message, this time from my mom. Shorter, a bit sharper. She said their card got declined at the grocery store. Asked if I forgot to send this month's transfer. So I said nothing. Day 3 was when the shift happened. The first wave of confusion turned into anger. My mom called twice, then sent a text with 6 question marks. Then one that just said, "Did you cancel something?" Yes. All of it. By noon, I'd received 5 calls. By evening, 10. I silenced my phone and went back to sitting by Scarlett's bed, watching a cartoon on mute while she slept. The next day they showed up at my apartment. I was still at the hospital when the front desk called to tell me 2 people were banging on my door. They left after a while, but I got a voicemail. "We need to talk. You've made your point, but this is serious. We need that money. We've got bills due. Why would you do this to your own family?" That word. Family. I almost laughed. Scarlett was slowly getting better. She asked about grandma once. I told her the truth, that she couldn't come. I didn't say more. Scarlett nodded and went back to coloring. But something had changed in me. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was done. That night, my mom sent the last calm message I'd ever get from her. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but if you're trying to hurt us, congratulations. You've succeeded. Hope you're proud of yourself." The next morning I checked the camera at my front door. They'd come back. This time yelling. My dad had kicked over a potted plant. My mom was screaming into the doorbell camera. They didn't know about the second camera. Or that I recorded everything. I watched the footage twice. Not out of fear, out of fascination. This was how they handled a minor inconvenience. They still had no idea what was coming. By the 5th day they weren't pretending anymore. My dad left a voicemail saying they were about to lose their electricity. My mom sent 5 texts in a row, most of them in all caps. She said I was punishing them over a misunderstanding and that I was overreacting. Then she added something that sealed it. We didn't ask to be grandparents. That was your choice. If she can't handle a little rain, maybe she shouldn't be in school. I stared at the message for a long time. I read it again, then again. Scarlett had nearly gone into shock from dehydration and fever, had spent 4 nights hooked to machines, and they had the nerve to say that. I didn't respond. I just started moving things into place. There was still one last card I hadn't played. My name was on their lease. Years ago, when their credit was garbage, I had co-signed to help them get the place. I'd been paying the difference in rent ever since. I emailed the landlord that afternoon. Explained I was removing myself from the lease at the end of the month and that I wouldn't be continuing to help cover payments. I knew exactly what would happen. At 2:13 a.m. I got the first true panic call. My mom. Her voice was shaking. She said she needed to talk, needed to explain. Said things had been taken out of context. That they didn't mean what they said. That they were just frustrated and didn't think I'd take it so far. I listened to the voicemail. Then I deleted it. An hour later my dad called. No apology. Just threats. Said if I let them get evicted, it would be the end of our relationship. That I'd regret it. That karma was real. I smiled at that one. The next day they drove back to my apartment. This time they waited in the hallway outside my door for 2 hours. I didn't let them in. I watched them argue with each other on the hallway cam. They were shouting so loud the neighbor came out to complain. They didn't even notice. Scarlett came home the next day. Still weak, still coughing, but smiling again. I set her up on the couch with blankets and her favorite books. She asked why Grandma and Grandpa hadn't called. I just said they were busy. But inside I was waiting. Because they weren't just scared now. They were desperate. And people like them, when they get desperate, they eat each other alive. It started with a voicemail from my aunt. Someone I hadn't heard from in over a year. She said my mom called her crying, said I was freezing them out and they were on the verge of being homeless. She asked me to call her back and be the bigger person. I didn't. Scarlett was still recovering, and every time I looked at her, curled up under her blanket sipping water slowly through a straw, I felt the fire flare up again. My mother left her in the rain. My father didn't lift a finger. And now I was supposed to show them mercy? They'd made their bed. By day 7 they were out of food. I know because they used the last of their data to post a Facebook status calling me vindictive and mentally unstable. Said I was brainwashing Scarlett, poisoning her against them, and that they had no idea why I'd suddenly turned on them. Then they started turning on each other. That same day I got an email from my landlord. Apparently my dad tried to claim I had agreed to keep paying the rent and said he had it in writing. He didn't. I forwarded every receipt, every message, every agreement showing otherwise. That's when the real panic began. The next morning my dad showed up at my office. I had security remove him before he got past the lobby. He stood outside for 45 minutes shouting my name. That afternoon I got a string of texts from my mom, bouncing between sobbing apologies and wild accusations. He said I was cruel. Said I was tearing the family apart. Then she sent the one that finally showed her cards. You win. You got what you wanted. She should have never been born. None of this would have happened if you didn't trap yourself with a kid. That was it. I screenshotted every message. Every voicemail. I stored them in a folder called In Case I Ever Forget. Because I didn't want to. I wanted to remember exactly what kind of people they were. A week ago they thought I needed them. Now they were squatting in their own apartment, trying to stretch electricity off an extension cord from the hallway outlet, hoping the neighbors didn't complain again. The eviction notice was coming. I didn't even have to push it. They were pushing each other. And karma was just getting started. I thought I was prepared for anything, but I wasn't expecting the police. They showed up at my door 2 days after the last voicemail. 2 officers. Calm, polite, but serious. Apparently, my parents had filed a report claiming I was withholding financial support I had legally committed to, and that Scarlett had been endangered due to my neglect. The moment I heard that word, neglect, I felt my pulse in my ears. I invited them in, sat them down, and handed over everything. The messages. The hospital discharge papers. The proof of financial support I'd been giving them for years. I even played the voicemail where my mom said Scarlett shouldn't have been born. The officers looked uncomfortable by the end. One of them asked me quietly if I wanted to file for a restraining order. I didn't answer. I just asked them to leave. That night, I drove to my parents' apartment. Not to talk. Not to yell. To serve them. The restraining order went through the next morning. They couldn't come near me or Scarlett anymore. And for a while I thought maybe that would be the end. But then something unexpected happened. A man in a black hoodie knocked on my door. I didn't recognize him at first. He was my dad's cousin, someone I hadn't seen in 10 years. He said he heard about what happened. That my parents had been lying to everyone. That they'd been telling people I stole money from them, abused Scarlett, left them to starve. He said his own father had loaned them nearly $5,000 a month before. And they told him I refused to help them because I was spending everything on vacations and a new man. I laughed. He didn't. He said I wasn't the only one they'd scammed. Turns out, for the past 6 months, my parents had been borrowing from almost everyone in the family, selling jewelry, even trying to refinance a car that wasn't in their name, mine. And then he told me something I didn't know. 2 days before Scarlett got sick, my parents received $800 from a small inheritance check left to them by a distant relative. They told no one. Spent it at a casino. I stared at him. He apologized and left. That same night, I got an anonymous letter in the mail. No return address. Just a single sentence. This is your fault. If they die, it's on you. I knew it was my mom's handwriting, but I didn't flinch. I lit a match and burned the letter in the sink. That weekend, their power was officially shut off. They had no food, no water, and no one left to call. Not even the cousin who warned me. No one wanted to be involved anymore. The last voicemail I ever got from them was just breathing and crying. And I listened to it while holding Scarlett's hand, watching her fall asleep peacefully in her own bed. Karma wasn't just knocking. It had broken the door down. It had been quiet for 5 days. Scarlett was back to playing with her dolls and asking questions like nothing had happened. I had started to sleep again. Thought it was over. I thought they'd finally disappeared. Too humiliated, too broken to try anything else. I was wrong. It was a Sunday night when the power flickered. Then died. I checked the breaker. Everything inside was fine. I opened the door to see if anyone else in the building was having issues, and froze. There, standing just inside the apartment building's main entrance, were my parents. My mom was holding a wrench. My dad had a pair of bolt cutters. They'd cut the main power to the building. Not just mine, everyone's. My neighbor across the hall came out just in time to see them run. The police came within minutes. I handed them the restraining order, showed them the footage from the hallway cam, and they went after them. It took less than 24 hours. They were arrested. But that wasn't the end. The next day, I got a call from a lawyer. Apparently, my parents had taken out a payday loan using forged documents, ones that listed me as a co-signer. They'd been using my name, my information, and even Scarlett's identity to try to pull in more cash. They never thought I'd find out. The amount wasn't massive, about $3,000, but the betrayal was. They'd used my daughter's social security number to apply for emergency aid. Twice. That's when I stopped being angry. I got strategic. I called the credit bureaus, froze everything, filed identity theft reports, sent in the signed restraining order and copies of the police report. Then I made one last move. I pressed charges. 2 days later, I got a letter from my father, handwritten from county jail. 3 pages of apology. He blamed my mother for everything. Said he didn't know about the stolen identity. Said he loved Scarlett. That he was ashamed. At the bottom, he wrote one final sentence. Please don't let me rot here. You're still my daughter. I didn't respond. Instead, I took Scarlett to a small cabin upstate for the weekend. No signal. No noise. Just us. And for the first time in weeks, I looked at her and felt peace. They broke themselves not because of anything I did, but because they thought they were untouchable. They thought my love was unlimited. They thought they could use it like a checkbook, like a weapon, like a shield. But love has limits. And I found mine the day they left my daughter in the rain, choking on a fever, waiting for a ride that never came. Now she'll never have to wait for anyone again. Especially not them. The update. I thought I wouldn't hear from them again. After the court dates, after the restraining orders were finalized, after I told the DA I wasn't interested in a plea deal, just accountability. Things were calm. Almost unnaturally so. Scarlett healed faster than I did. She was back to school, back to smiling. I stopped checking the cameras every night. I stopped expecting chaos. Then last Friday someone knocked on my door. It wasn't them. But it wasn't no one either. It was a woman named Teresa. She said she worked with a local church's outreach program and that she'd been asked to visit me by my parents. I didn't say anything. She hesitated, then said they were in a transitional shelter now. That my mom had been placed on suicide watch. That my dad had been diagnosed with severe liver damage. They had nothing. No car. No friends. No money. Just desperation. And apparently some guilt. She handed me a sealed envelope and said they asked her to deliver it because I wouldn't accept calls or letters. She said she wasn't taking sides, just trying to help both of us heal. I took the envelope, closed the door. I didn't open it right away. It sat on my kitchen counter for 2 days. When I finally opened it, there were just 2 things inside. A folded photograph of me holding Scarlett as a newborn, and a note written in my mother's handwriting. We failed you. We failed her. If we could trade places, we would. But we can't. If this is the last thing we ever say to you, let it be this. We were wrong. And you were right. About everything. I didn't cry. I didn't feel peace. What I felt was a strange kind of stillness. Like when a storm finally passes and everything is quiet, not because it's over, but because something new is about to begin. I haven't decided what to do next. Maybe I'll visit them one day. Maybe I won't. But they don't get to decide anymore. Not how this ends. Not how we heal. That belongs to me and Scarlett now. And we're just getting started.